Come on, bro. You cannot purposely tank for 3 years and then talk about a miraculous comeback, because it's not. They're just putting forth an effort this year instead of going for a draft pick.
Hater.
I think that they're just underneath better direction right now. I believe that Tom Gores, if he was duped by Monty Williams, he was duped. But I do believe his intention was to put a coach on the sideline to win.
Yeah.
Dwayne Casey had just come off a Coach of the Year in Toronto, and he did make the playoffs with the Pistons. And he was the coach the next year after. Troy wasn't able to hire his own coach while he was here, and that was a situation to where you start to realize, without having that singular voice that we talked about in Trajan Langdon, the basketball operations were all over the place.
It was,
You have Arn-Tellem, who I believe is a very, very great asset and great basketball mind for this organization and just in basketball globally, period. He's represented a lot of players, both here, American-wise, as well as on the global market. From Bojan Bogdanovic to Tobias Harris to Blake Griffin to Kobe Bryant is one of his most famed that he represented. But maybe he just wasn't the best at basketball operations. And then you got Tom Gores, who took a big step out of some of these operations and being a part of some of these decisions and leaving it in the hands of a Trajan who did what? Instantly brought a front office in and a development staff even before he brought in the coach.
Exactly.
Fred Vincent was here before that. They brought in people to work the contracts and to understand how the cap sheets and new ones work. Why is that important? Because they utilize that strategy to get Dennis Schroeder for effectively free. So they're operating at just a different level right now. And then you bring in a coach like a JB Bickerstaff who, just like Monty, had the history of turning a team from no playoffs to playoffs very quickly. But JB Bickerstaff, my first conversation with him versus any conversation I had with Monty was 10 times better.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be real with you, and that's no shade or disrespect to Monty.
It's
but
real.
This team is actually now, they struck gold on the coaches. They struck gold on the front office. And honestly, they struck gold on the vets. That's what they needed, because obviously Troy made the right draft picks, or else we wouldn't be sitting here talking about a playoff team right now. But ultimately, that to me is where this squad is. I think that they were trying. They tried.
Yeah.
But it just didn't come together at all.
The development wasn't there. The proper signing of veterans wasn't there. And listen, Matt, like, I don't agree with them trying to tank for Wemby either. I didn't necessarily agree with them coming out in the media and pretty much saying, yeah, we're tanking. But you got to realize there are caveats to what the Pistons situation was. And if anything that this year should have taught you is that this wasn't a 14-win team last year. But because shit was so poorly run for all those years, and like you said, the balance of power, was it really with Troy or was it the Tellems really calling the shots? We don't really know, but it was until Trajan came into this building. It was until Tom Gores took responsibility for some of the things he did in the past, and as Neil likes to say, cut the check more than what any other owner has done in this town. You got to give him credit for that, man. And listen, it's tripling your win total is no small feat. I don't think we should take that lightly. And I understand you may not have liked how they've gotten here, but they are here now. They are a competent franchise. They're one of the better teams in the Eastern Conference. And we have to start putting respect on this team as such. Cade Cunningham has taken that next leap into superstardom, I believe. The rest of the team around him has developed, and they're playing well as far as the core players. And you have the proper veterans in the building. They can go out there and make some noise in this playoff run. So as a fan, you should just enjoy it, man. Listen, we know how bad this product has been for over a decade, bro. But we are finally here, and we on a free roll right now. So let's just enjoy it, bro. That's all I would say.
And we do know who was running it, because it's been well reported that when Troy was hired, it was under Ed Stefanski, who's still with the organization.
Yeah.
Who was under Arn-Tellem, and those guys were making the decisions. And some of them worked. They, obviously Blake Griffin, how do they get him here? Well, he's being represented by the people connected to the Tellems.
And LA didn't want to pay him that money, but continue.
and it worked out for a playoff appearance, and Tellem was here for that.
Yeah.
How do we get a Tobias Harris? How was it the worst kept secret on the market for 2 years? Well, his connection to the agency that's connected to Tellem.
Yeah.
And this one worked out much better than Bojan, who Arn-Tellem represented. So we got a clear kind of case of what probably was going on from the top of the organization, and that's why I continue to say having a Trajan Langdon here has helped to simplify things. And Tom Gores even said that at the intro. He said, look, This is to bring a singular voice and focus to our basketball operations. They even went and brought in a president of business operations for the Detroit Pistons, and Melanie Harris, who worked with Nike and Jordan brand and everything as well, just to separate all of that. Just so that Trajan and his office can focus solely on basketball, and anything else dealing with branding, take that completely out of that office. And that's where you see now people like Dwayne Casey, who's doing both scouting and then doing some of that stuff with the business operations underneath Melanie Harris and such, and what they're doing in the community. So I believe that there's a lot more structure, a lot more focus, and that's where, even with the coaches, they brought in a lot more assistants, and they brought in some more development coaches, and now you see these players working on things. What was I telling you guys to start the season? More so than any of my other 4 years and of being in that practice facility and seeing this team go through shoot-arounds and such, I'm seeing them not being pushed, where I'm seeing the coaches agitate Jalen Duren on his individual workout. So instead of just letting him kind of hit the left and go middle and finger roll, they're like, bro, you ain't dunked that.
Right.
And if he's going for the layup, I see him give a little push, and he gets pissed, and then he goes right back, and then he's dunking it. But then what does that lead to this season? So now we see that there's better development here, better coaches here who honestly understand what's going on. Well, the Detroit Pistons, and we saw Jalen Duren with some personal growth as one of the youngest players in the NBA, say, I was playing on some soft dish. I think you need the right mix of veterans and the right leader as a coach to be able to get that through to some of these young players. In the Pistons, 540 total dunks by the Pistons this season. It's the most in the NBA, 6.9 per game. They're led by Jalen Duren's 212 slams, which ranks second in the NBA. 59 of those dunks have been alley-oops, assisted by Cade Cunningham, which is the most from a duo in the NBA this season. They are Lob City. Cade and Duren.
Lob City East.
And the stats back that up. They have the #1 lob connection by the numbers. Asar Thompson is second on the squad and 17th in the NBA with 104 dunks. And Tobias Harris, third on the team with 56 dunks. And what we were saying about what we wanted to see out of Asar last year, more cuts, more rim runs, more dives, more filling the empty space. Let him cut behind when Cade or Jalen Duren or somebody is absorbing the gravity. And we're seeing this team punch it home, literally and figuratively, man. Hey, that dude, Justin, how have you felt about these Pistons? 4 games left. The way this thing dictates down the stretch, they're either going to be playing the Knicks or the Pacers, but overall, this team has taken some formidable steps forward and finally put it all together on 3 different levels, from coaching, front office, to the personnel.
I mean, they're in a free roll right now, technically. I mean, they have figured everything out. They have proven that they have a future going forward and that they will be a powerhouse in the East for the next couple of years. They have everything from the top down, like you just said, from ownership all the way down to the bench contributions you're getting from guys like Sasser and Hardaway. Like, this team is really showing a lot of great things right now, and it's really like revitalized my love for Pistons basketball. I can't tell you the last time I watched a game before this year, but I've tuned in, I've watched it. Cade's absolutely fantastic. I mean, it is, and I mean, all the videos I see from Kool-Aid, downtown when the Pistons are playing looks to be
crazy. People are showing up. The lines are really, really backing up at each of the entrances, man. I know you see it, Willie B. You're down there. The garages and just the traffic is getting crazy as well.
And the dumbass questions for the customers talk about, you got Apple Pay?
Big Willie bad.
That make that hold the line too. When you had a customer say, here, they have cash in their pocket, a lot full of cash, and don't have a credit card. And it said, can you do tap for their phone?
Look, bro, listen, Piston fans are just showing up.
They don't know. They don't know, man. It's been so long, bro.
Most of do know because they've been there a couple of times, but we got an old credit card machine since the Little Caesars brought it open. Then the question's been asked is it's not advanced. Our card machine is not advanced. Just get a physical credit card.
Yeah, man, breaking it down.
But you know what? It's because of this, though. It's because of this. I got some other notes I want to read before we get into everybody's favorite segment. There's a lot of notes here, especially since February 1st, who this Detroit team has been. Since February 1st, the Detroit Pistons boast the 5th highest net rating in the league in February and have been one of the hottest teams in the NBA since, man. Listen to this. Since February 1st, The Detroit Pistons are a top 5 team. They trail only Oklahoma City Thunder, the Boston Celtics, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Golden State Warriors, and then it's your Detroit Pistons who fall at 5. They have 118 offensive rating, just behind the Golden State Warriors, who have 118.5. Their defensive rating is 110.2, which out of this top 5 would net the Pistons at number 3 defensive rating in all of the NBA. Damn. And so their net and their overall record during that span, 19 and 11 for those Detroit Pistons. And then here's another stat here. Detroit is 29 and 17 since January 1 and are third in the NBA with a 110 defensive rating in that stretch. This is Detroit's most wins. We talk about how long it's been. This is Detroit's most wins in a 46-game span since the going to work Pistons, 2007 to 2008.
So what are we talking about?
That era.
I told you this is the best Pistons team since 08, 09, bro. Like, what are we talking about?
But remember when I made my face, and you like, wait, but cool. I was like, no, I think since 07, 08.
Yeah, you did say that.
Then I saw the stats this morning. I was like, oh, snap.
Yeah.
They're really doing what those teams did. And you know what? Hopefully they work that success in reverse, because what's next is a championship caliber team. Yeah, that's what I believe, man. And there's so many other numbers here that I can read. I like them being first in points in the paint since February 1st. That's crazy. Like that. With 57.9 in the game. Fifth in fewest opponent points in the paint, 45.8. So they get busy on both ends of the floor, man.
Yes, sir.
Hey, this Detroit Pistons team, it's awesome to see these young players really be some of the catalysts for leading the charge with these stats. And it's allowed the vets to play some very, very strategic and specialist type roles. I got to shout out Malik Beasley, and I want to hear a little bit more from UKG. Yeah. Malik Beasley's franchise record, 301 3-pointers made this season. It's the 8th most in a season in NBA history. He joined Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, James Harden, and Anthony Edwards as the only players to make 300 triples in a season. Wow. And he has made multiple threes in a franchise record 27 straight games, the longest of his career and second longest in the NBA this season, behind Trey Murphy at 28. So
impressive.
This team, amazing. From the young players to the vets, to the young star in Cade Cunningham, the new star, to the coaches, everything is coming to roses for this team. And if the trends are to be believed, they have a good opportunity as the playoffs are approaching to actually make some noise.
This is why fans like Matt Kruger, I would just tell you to enjoy this, because much like Neil loves to say, shout out Big D Energy, this is a free roll right now. There will be expectations on this team going forward, considering that their turnaround was so damn quick. I mean, this was billed as a 2 to 3 year possible rebuild or retooling for this team, and they've got it done in year 1, bro.
Without Ivy.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of that was due to Cade taking an even greater step than what he took last year. Your veterans stepping up in big ways, actually contributing to this team in a lot of ways. You brought up Malik Beasley, and I'll continue to say it. He has been a different player. He was always good, but he has given us his best as a Detroit Piston. You love to see that. Pay that man in the offseason.
$6 million a year.
Whatever you got to do, pay that man in the offseason. Tobias Harris, listen, I apologize. I didn't necessarily think that was the right move. I didn't think that was the right move in the offseason. But when you look at just where they were, it wasn't a lot of options for this team. But the leadership that he's exuded since coming back and just picking up his level of play and being that consistent, third option for this offense has been amazing, bro. And I can't speak to the level of young talent on this team that has taken the step up. Ron Holland has been great in his rookie season. I expect better things from him. Asar Thompson, since coming back from the blood clot, has looked amazing. He looks like a two-way threat for years to come.
You said Asar Thompson, two-way threat for years to come. You talking about the one that has 84 steals by Asar Thompson since January 1st is the second most in the NBA, only behind Dyson Daniels.
Wow, bro.
Oh, hold on. I have more here, man. Asar racked up 3 steals versus Toronto for the 16th time this season. The sixth most such games in the league, and Thompson has averaged 1.9. You're going to like somebody's name. 1.9 steals per game in 44 outings since January 1, joining Ben Wallace, and I told y'all this name, Andre Drummond, as the only Pistons with such a span since 2000.
Damn.
No, that's true. You schooled me on Drummond, too. I ain't think he was getting down defensively like that. I was watching it. I just didn't see it. But, man. And then just even down to guys like Marcus Sasser, who, you know, his role has been changing, ever changing this whole year, but he's been ready at every single step of the way, bro. Even after bringing in a Dennis Schroeder, he didn't let that discourage him, and he continues to be ready for this team. And then once again, the trade of Dennis Schroeder, genius by Trajan Langdon, man. That was the existential pickup for this team that they needed for this playoff push. I am so excited about this team, and there's so many different ways that, you know, you can be excited about this team. Will they win a playoff series is yet to be determined, but you got to at least have belief that they can get it done.
I think that they can get it done, man. I know we're going to have a NBA playoff preview show as well for these Detroit Pistons. It's in the works. I will definitely share more details as we get closer, but my goodness, if you could just get what you got out of Fontecchio when you first traded for him.
Man, what?
If they should find out Fontecchio in the playoffs, their ceiling is a little bit higher in this first round.
He's literally the only person on the team that's been questionable this year. Everybody else is like, they've given you something. They've given you something.
I got a quick question for you, too.
Yes, sir.
And I'm curious if you guys believe that if Jaden Ivey didn't go down, would all these guys, the Cade, Malik, Thompson, Holland, all make that big of a step forward if he's in the lineup?
That's a good question.
50 wins.
I do believe so, because you look at what they were doing when he was there, and a lot of these guys were still performing, and what you saw was, and we talked about it earlier, is now the pressure is off to have, remember, the talent level before was Cade and Ivy, it have to be on.
Right.
Or Ivy and Bojan have to be on.
Yep.
Or Alec Burks and player this have to be on. Now you have a situation where you're not going to be on every night. And it's allowed these guys to just kind of ride the season without, like Tim Hardaway and the stuff he was sharing with the Dallas Mavericks.
Yeah.
He couldn't go on a cold stretch. But here you saw these players really complement each other. And even with Ivy down, Marcus Sasser stepped up.
Yep.
Marcus Sasser is the one filling in more of those Ivy minutes.
Yep.
So it's like if Ivy was here, Marcus Sasser is probably the one who would hurt the most. But those other players like Ron Holland and Malik Beasley, if you remember earlier in the season, they were still playing and getting. And Holland, I thought, was actually getting more minutes after about the first week or two of the season than he did once the season got going. After Ivy, they locked into more of a smaller lineup, and it reduced some of his minutes. So I do believe if Ivy is here, it actually bodes better for the Pistons. And I do believe going forward, you see him kind of shooting, you see him running a little bit, you see him jogging. He's been putting up some cryptic posts on socials and such. Some people are wondering if he's going to make it back this year. But for me personally, I just want to see him go out next season and in a big contract year, go out there and prove to be the player that I think he can be in healthy.
No, absolutely. Justin, to answer your question, I do still think that they would be doing this with Ivy here just because, you know, everybody took a step up this year. Ivy as well, man. From three-point percentage defensively, field goal percentage, getting to the basket. Everything has improved for Jaden Ivey this year, and he was the second leading scorer on this team before he went down. But I will also say that his absence has helped a lot of these younger guys in just terms of getting that experience. If Jaden Ivey was still here, I don't know if Asar Thompson gets those consistent starter minutes that he's been able to get, and that's helped his development like tenfold. There are a lot of different subtle changes that these
knock Hardaway out of there.
No, not at all, not at all. But there are like subtle changes that have been made to this Pistons lineup that has only helped the guys that, you know, weren't getting as many minutes with Ivy being kind of in the mix. So no, I think that, you know, going into next year, and listen, if he plays in this playoffs, cool. If he doesn't, cool. I just want him to be healthy because I do feel like he is still a very important piece to this team. He will be your number two. I'd say that Durant is the number two right now, but when Ivy comes back, I expect him to take that mantle back. And you just want him to go out there, and since that the Ivy Cade fit appears like it can work, I would like to see more of that, because this year, and people love to say, oh, when Ivy went down, that's when the success started. Well, no, Ivy went out there and got you at least 2 wins by him damn self.
Yeah, he held it together while the team offense was struggling, while Tobias Harris was struggling, while Asar Thompson wasn't there.
Yes.
While Jalen Duren admittedly said, yeah, during that time I was playing on some soft-ish. That was literally a time where it was like Malik Beasley and then one of the vets, Tobias, or Tim was actually started the season hot. If it wasn't for Tim and what we were getting out of Ivy, because Cade started a little slow. He was getting numbers, but efficiency-wise, he was started a little bit slow. There was a lot of like Beasley, Ivy, Hardaway to start that season, and Isaiah Stewart, who was just playing out of his mind to start the season. And then those other guys started to get back. They had a little bit of stretch where Cade and Ivy looked really, really good together, and it's because a lot of things that you see with a Jaden Ivey, they increased his usage rate this year to 26%, which was the highest of his career. And you know what? His turnovers went to 16.1% in terms of his turnover rate. The assists 19.8% in terms of the assist rate. But what I love here is the true shooting. It's the highest that it ever was in his career at almost 57% per game, up from 53% his rookie year, 54% the second year. Now he's up to 57, and that second year is 53.6. So he's up a large amount of percentage points, and we saw that as it related to his three-point shooting, taking a big leap forward in terms of consistency and hitting a good 36% of threes, and sometimes had some really, really hot stretches. He was reliable.
Yeah.
He was dishing the rock, and I do believe when you get someone like that back, that only bodes better for your team because he wants to do whatever for this team. When they ask him to go to the bench, when they ask him to not play, when they ask him to start, when they ask him to fill in for point, he just does whatever they ask him to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the jump from 33% to 40% is a huge jump, especially for an NBA player.
Yeah, I know, crazy, right? What a concept, Wheezy D313. You keep pushing this Ivy hate agenda. I don't hate Ivy, bro. Never have, dog. Was there questions coming into the year? Obviously, we were a 14 fucking win team last year.
He was effective 41% three-point shooter.
40.9.
Yeah.
And for a long time, the Cade Cunningham was catching it seemingly and making off-ball three-point shots only from Jaden Ivey for a while. And so I like the mix. That downhill action from a guard spot, there's not a lot of guards who's going to stay in front of him, and he's going to have the opportunity to run up. Something that I love, that free throw rate. That's what I love about Jaden Ivey. He's going to get an opportunity to get your team into the penalty very, very quickly. So.
Yeah. And he's to go back to the 3-point as well, his opportunity has gone up as well. He's averaging more 3-point shots per game, and he's more field goals per game too, and his field goal percentage has gone up 5 points as well. So I mean, he really has
the efficiency.
Wow,
for him.
Yeah.
He improved. Wow,
got better. It's crazy when you bring in a guy like Fred Vincent. What will happen to a team when he's not called the shot? What is he called? The shot? What is his nickname?
I don't even know what we call him. We can call him the shot god though, because that dude is going out there and just doing his thing for this team. And you see it, man. Asar Thompson, Ron Holland, even Ivy. They just have more consistent, less stressful looking shots. I used to feel bad looking at players like Asar shoot the rock because he looks stressed out. Now he just looks like this is what I do, whether the shot's falling or not. And that's the first step towards a good jumper. And having that confidence through the season, that's what boosts the players in the offseason. When they go into the offseason, they have the time to just focus specifically on these one or two traits to improve on. I believe next year is where we're going to really see the fruits of the Fred Vincent labor with guys like Ron Holland, Asar Thompson, Jaden Ivey. I see Marcus Sasser work with them, and we see Marcus Sasser being more consistent now with his shot making and his scoring than we had prior. So,
and what was I telling you all off season? Either Asar or Ron needed to learn how to shoot, bro. If you can get just one of them. And I think it'll be more Ron than Asar, but if you can just get one of them to shoot in the 30s, oh my God.
Yeah, I think you want to get a little bit more Ron than Asar, because Asar, both of those guys still score from the perimeter, but Asar, he's that player that I've seen. He dribbles it twice, and I remember it looked like he was trying to run a play, and everybody cleared out ISO for him. And he looked,
took off
to the left hand, and he backed down from the perimeter. I'm like, like two dribbles, backed all the way down and did his little spin and shot. And I was just like, golly, man. Like, they got something, man. But we got to get in everybody's favorite.